Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to be talking about something that I think is super interesting. Um, India's role in the world of AI.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's really kind of blowing up right now. And
Yeah.
we've got this excerpt here from a document titled India's AI Leadership, Shaping the Future of Global AI Governance. And this is not just about India, like trying to keep up with AI.
Right.
This is like them really wanting to change how we think about AI and how we develop it and use it responsibly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they're coming at it from a slightly different perspective than we see from like the US or China.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with this upcoming AI Action Summit happening in Paris on February 10th and 11th. India is actually co-chairing the event this time around.
Yeah, and this is actually the third summit like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we had the first one in the UK last year,
Okay.
and then there was one in South Korea, and now it's in Paris. So it's really becoming a global conversation.
So it's not just like some, kind of like side conversation. This is like front and center on the global
For
stage.
sure, for sure.
But for people like me who, aren't at these summits,
Yeah.
what is actually happening there? Are they just kind of like, sharing ideas and having coffee?
No, not at all. I mean, it is a place to network and share ideas, but these summits are really where the groundwork is being laid for international agreements
Oh, wow. Okay.
about AI safety and ethics and governance.
So like the actual nuts and bolts of how we're going to move forward with AI as a planet.
Exactly.
So that's a pretty big deal then, that India is, co-chairing this summit.
Definitely.
So like what is India's stance in all of this? What are they bringing to the table?
So one of the things that India is really emphasizing is this idea of balance.
Okay.
They want to see AI innovation flourish,
Of course.
but they're also really concerned about safety and ethical considerations.
Well, yeah. I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's a powerful technology. It's not something you want to just kind of let loose without any guardrails.
Definitely not. So it's
It's-
not like a black and white thing. This is, there's a lot of nuance here.
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act, and a lot of countries are kind of wrestling with that right now.
Yeah. But it's not just talk, right? They're actually taking action.
Absolutely. Yeah, take the G20 for example.
Yeah.
India has been really vocal within the G20 about pushing for pro-innovation policies.
Okay, so they're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Right, and they're also making some pretty major investments.
Like what?
Well, like this massive AI computing facility that they're building,
Okay.
it's going to have over 18,000 GPUs.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the government is subsidizing it.
18,000 GPUs.
No.
That's insane. Like, what is the point of that?
Well, it kind of boils down to one of India's core priorities with AI, and that is democratizing access.
Okay.
They want to make sure that everyone benefits from AI, not just the countries that have, tons of money to throw at it.
So it's about leveling the playing field a little bit.
Exactly, and it's not just about hardware either.
Oh, okay.
They're also advocating for greater access to data sets, the data that AI is trained on, and
Yeah.
foundational AI models.
Now, hold on. What are foundational AI models?
So think of those as like the building blocks for a lot of different AI applications.
Okay.
So there are these really powerful AI systems that are trained on just massive amounts of data, and then they can be adapted to do all sorts of different tasks. But access to these models can be really expensive and limited.
Oh, so this is like the foundation upon which other AI is built.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why India is pushing for a more open approach.
Okay, so that makes sense then, that could help developing countries kind of get in the game a little bit more.
Right, exactly. And India is really putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
So they're developing their own open source models like DeepSeek
Okay.
and advocating for more relaxed export controls on AI tech.
So that's huge because then it's not just about, the countries with the most money are the ones who can develop the best AI. This is more about sharing the knowledge and sharing the power.
Yeah, it's about fostering collaboration and making sure that everyone has a seat at the table.
So then it's not just about playing catch up either.
Mhm.
It's also about using AI to actually solve problems.
Right, and that's another thing that India is really focused on.
Yeah.
They see AI as this incredibly powerful tool for solving real-world problems, particularly in the global south.
So less about, beating everyone else to the finish line and more about how can we use this to make things better.
Exactly, and the document highlights 3 key areas where they're focusing their efforts: healthcare, education, and agriculture.
Okay, let's break those down a little bit. So in healthcare, how are they using AI?
Well, one of the things they're looking at is using AI for early disease detection,
Okay.
especially in areas that have limited healthcare resources.
So using AI to kind of fill in the gaps where maybe there aren't enough doctors or resources.
Exactly. And then in education, they're developing adaptive learning models
Okay.
that can be tailored to different languages and educational contexts.
So like personalized learning for everyone.
Exactly.
And then agriculture, what are they doing there?
They're developing AI-driven tools to help farmers boost their productivity.
Oh, wow. So it's across the board.
Yeah.
They're really thinking about how AI can make a real difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's also this thing that I found really fascinating, this Global South AI repository.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
So basically, they're envisioning this central hub where countries can track the progress of different AI projects that are geared towards addressing Global South challenges.
Okay.
It's about sharing best practices, lessons learned, so that everyone can benefit from each other's successes and avoid repeating mistakes.
So not just starting from scratch every time, but actually having a place where you can go and see, okay, this worked, this didn't work.
Exactly. It's about fostering collaboration and accelerating progress.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But of course, AI isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There are potential downsides and risks.
Right.
What is India's take on that?
So they're definitely aware of the potential risks, and they're pushing for a more nuanced approach to AI safety and risk assessment.
Okay.
And their argument is that AI risks might look different in the Global South than they do in more developed nations.
That's a good point. We can't just assume that one size fits all.
Exactly.
Can you give me an example of how those risks might differ?
Sure. So let's take large language models as an example. These
Oh.
are really powerful AI systems that are trained on massive amounts of text data.
I've heard of those.
But the problem is that most of that data comes from Western sources.
So if it's trained on Western data, what kind of risks could that pose for other parts of the world?
Well, imagine a language model that's used to generate educational content,
Okay.
but its understanding of history or cultural nuances is skewed towards a Western perspective. That could inadvertently lead to cultural biases being amplified or even contribute to the erosion of local languages and traditions.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the data that goes into it and who's controlling that data.
Exactly.
So India is basically saying we need to be way more careful about how we develop and deploy AI, especially in these culturally diverse contexts.
Right. And they're calling for more data collection on AI harms specific to the Global South
Okay.
and the development of risk assessment frameworks that take those unique challenges into account.
So it's not just, build it and they will come. It's like,
Yeah.
let's think about this carefully. Let's think about the impacts. Let's think about the long term.
Absolutely. It's about taking a more holistic and responsible approach to AI development.
It's really interesting to see how India is really kind of taking the lead in that conversation.
Yeah, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with in the AI world.
For sure. And this is just scratching the surface.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot more to unpack.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll be talking about the potential implications of India's leadership in the global AI landscape and what it could mean for the future of AI governance.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
For sure. It's really interesting how India seems to be kind of like positioning themselves as this bridge between the big AI players like the US and China and then the developing world.
Yeah, that's a really insightful observation. I think they're in this unique position where they have a foot in both worlds, so to speak.
And it's not just about, adopting what the big guys are doing. They're really advocating for a more inclusive approach that takes into account the needs and perspectives of a lot of different countries.
Yeah, and that's what makes their perspective so valuable. They're not just following the lead of the established powers.
Yeah.
They're trying to forge their own path.
So if they're successful in kind of championing this more inclusive approach, what could that look like? How would it actually change the global AI landscape?
Well, I think it could be a pretty significant shift. Because right now, a lot of the rules and norms around AI are being set by a relatively small number of powerful nations.
Yeah, sure.
But if India can successfully advocate for the needs of the Global South,
Okay.
we could see a much more balanced and representative system of AI governance emerge.
That would be amazing to see, like, actually having AI policies that are shaped by a more diverse set of voices.
Yeah, because different regions face different challenges and have different priorities when it comes to AI.
And different opportunities, too.
Exactly. So a one-size-fits-all approach isn't going to work.
But let's be realistic for a second. there are going to be some challenges along the way.
Oh, definitely. There will be pushback.
Yeah, like what kind of obstacles do you think India might face?
Well, for one thing, the established players, the ones who are used to calling the shots,
Yeah,
they might not be too happy about sharing power or changing the status quo.
that's a fair point.
Mm.
It's always harder to change a system from within
Right.
than to just, create something brand new.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of resources.
Right.
Developing countries often lack the infrastructure and the funding that they need to really compete in the AI race.
Which is why India is, trying to promote those open source technologies
Right, exactly.
and advocating for greater access to computing resources.
Yeah, they're trying to level the playing field in that sense.
But it's not just about having the tools, right?
No, you need the knowledge and skills to use them effectively.
Education is huge.
Absolutely. And that's another area where India is stepping up. They've launched a number of initiatives that are focused on AI education and research.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, both domestically and in collaboration with other developing nations.
So they're not just handing out the technology and saying good luck.
No, they're really investing in building capacity and empowering people to understand and utilize AI.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a very holistic approach. They're
Yeah.
really trying to build a sustainable ecosystem for AI development that benefits everyone.
And even with all the right tools and resources, there's still this challenge of cultural sensitivity.
Yeah, that's a huge issue.
Because how do we make sure that, AI systems that are developed in one part of the world don't accidentally end up harming or marginalizing communities in other parts of the world?
Right, and that's where I think India's emphasis on contextualized AI safety and risk assessment is so important.
Yeah, so instead of just assuming that what works in, Silicon Valley is going to work everywhere,
Right, exactly.
we need to actually think about the specific cultural and social factors in each region.
We need AI systems that are sensitive to local values and norms and practices.
Because what might be considered totally harmless in one culture could be, really offensive or even harmful in another.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where having diverse voices at the table becomes so important.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We need people from different backgrounds and different perspectives involved in the development and deployment of AI systems.
To make sure that it's actually inclusive.
Exactly. If we want to create AI that works for everyone, we need to make sure that everyone has a say in how it's created.
And I think that's where India's role as kind of a bridge builder
Hmm.
becomes really crucial.
Absolutely. They have this unique ability to facilitate dialogue and build trust between different stakeholders.
And hopefully bring the global north and the global south together.
Right, to create a more balanced and collaborative approach to AI.
Yeah, that's the dream.
It is, and the good news is that India is not alone in this.
Now, that's good to hear.
There's a growing global movement calling for a more responsible and inclusive approach to AI.
Okay.
We've got organizations like the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, the Partnership on AI, all working to address these challenges.
So it seems like there is hope that AI can actually be a force for good in the world.
I think so, but it's going to require a lot of effort and collaboration
Yeah, for sure.
and a real commitment to putting people at the center of AI development.
Human-centered AI.
Exactly.
We've learned so much in this deep dive about India's AI strategy.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, right?
I mean, from their investments in infrastructure to their approach to making AI accessible and being aware of those risks.
It's really refreshing to see a country that's not just focused on the technology itself, but also on the bigger picture, like how AI can be used to solve real-world problems.
Especially for those in the global south.
Exactly.
It's not just about, being the best or being the first. It's about making sure that everyone benefits.
And they're walking the walk, too. They're not just talking about it.
Right, like with that huge AI computing facility
Hmm.
and their support for open source models.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. Giving everyone access to those resources could really level the playing field.
And then there's that Global South AI repository, which I'm still thinking about.
Oh, yeah, that's a game changer.
I mean, imagine having a central hub where countries can share their knowledge and experience and resources so that everyone can learn from each other's successes and avoid making the same mistakes.
It's a brilliant idea, and it really speaks to India's commitment to collaboration.
It's like they're saying, hey, let's work together on this. Let's pool our collective wisdom and make AI a force for good in the world.
And they're leading by example, sharing their own expertise and resources to help others get up to speed.
What I find really interesting is how practical their approach is.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not just theorizing about the future of AI. They're rolling up their sleeves and getting things done.
And they're focused on tangible solutions to real-world challenges, not just chasing the latest trends.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this question.
What's that?
What could all of this mean for the future of global AI governance?
Oh, that's a big one.
I mean, if India keeps going down this path, you know, championing this inclusive and context-aware approach to AI, how could that impact the world stage?
Well, it's an exciting thought, isn't it?
Yeah,
Imagine a world where AI policies are shaped not just by the interests of a few powerful nations, but by the needs and perspectives of a much wider range of stakeholders.
that would be amazing to see. Like actually having AI that works for everyone,
Right, and not just benefiting a select few.
AI that bridges divides instead of widening them.
A world where the benefits of this incredible technology are shared more equitably.
Yeah, leading to greater prosperity and well-being for all.
That's the dream,
It
right?
is, and it seems like India is really playing a key role in making that dream a reality.
They're definitely a country to watch in the AI space.
So to our listeners out there, keep an eye on India because they're not just shaping the future of AI.
They're shaping the future of our world.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.